hidden free pick. But yeah, here it is. So Capoch versus Vinchester, double cup, double TC starts, and I don't think that we should wait any longer. Just jump inside and see what's up. Let's hope Capture Age works as I plan it to work. And well, that's 13 seconds remaining, and we have an interesting setup over here. Berbers versus Franks. Neither of these are super conventional double TC start civilizations, so I'm somewhat puzzled on the idea for either player. Both of these are generally good civs. That's not really a big deal. The question is, as I said, that why are they so special? We're going to see in a brief moment. And let's see. Ole. Here it is. So we are going to be rolling with purple and green. The reason why is because the overlay follows that color coding as well. Capture Age right now doesn't have team colors built in this, but double TC's cup. Each player starts with 2 town centers, twice the resources and whatnot. It's super hard to manage all of this, so expect to see a lot of villagers lost to boars. And we are going to have Capoch on the south playing as Franks in green. Other side is going to be Vinchester playing as Berbers in purple. And the first thing to think through when we're talking about double TC play is that you need fast civilizations for this. Civs that have good mobility, like Berbers, like Franks. Both of these are actually pretty good with their cavalry. I actually like Berbers a little bit more because camel archers can be an option, and also because they can add camels, which gives you a little bit more versatility in the cavalry combat. So, let's see what we have over here for Capoch. There's quite a considerable amount of idle time here for both players. And yeah, TC idle time is going to be a great indicator here in Capture Age. You see there's a villager idle time indicator and a TC idle time indicator. Of course, you're going to see a lot more idle time from both players than you would in normal 1v1. So, it is what it is. Still, there is some flaws with Capture Age, you know, it's kind of early testing version, so just neglect that text overlapping with the minimap itself. Now, anyways, looking at Vinchester's map, he's got a beautiful spot for TC over here, just on top of 2 golds, which is just absolutely amazing for him. Other than that, his base feels a little bit open over here. Other side is going to be a rather decent base for him, but double stones on the front is not nice. And oh, look at this place. Look at this just position of death. If a sneaky villager ever tries to get through here, he is gonna die. And this also applies to walling villagers, so that's an interesting way to generate the map for wolves on top of each other. Other side, I feel like Capoch's map is a little bit better. Easy wall off here on the right side, secures the gold. He can either wall this little corner for himself and have a nice wood line and stone at the back, or he could just wall over here in between these 2 cliffs, and over here. Both of these are reasonable. In fact, I think Capoch has a very wallable map, and I think walling is a lot more important than in 1v1, because, or like in standard 1v1 maps, because here it's almost guaranteed that you're gonna get raided on both of your bases, and you will most likely have your army at some place, so you will not be able to defend both bases. I think you need at least one of your bases walled. Luckily for Capoch, he could just make one huge wall here, like corner to corner basically. It's pretty easy, just wall here, 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 here. Not a lot of commitment, to be honest, and he would have this entire part of the map like 30% covered for him. A little bit harder for Vinchester, but it is still doable. So what Franks will give you is a nice berry boost. You could potentially operate with the scouts, and you also have the farming upgrades, which is pretty helpful because you will need a lot of food. Other side, Berbers, cheaper cavalry. I actually like that a little bit more over here for Capoch. So I would say that he's gonna have the upper hand in this game, just if you look at the civilizations. So we should have Feudal Age coming in here for both players rather soon. You currently have 31 villagers and 30 for the 2 players. And apparently both players are just splitting up their scouts. So Capoch is scouting his own side of the map with one, scouting his opponent with the other. Same thing for Vinchester, but he's scouting the two opponent bases at the same time. Sometimes you see players just using their scouts together and trying to pick off 1 or 2 villagers. That could also be one way to play things. Alright, so you probably expect to see kind of similar feudal age times as you would in standard 1v1, but for castle age times it's going to be a lot faster. In fact, most of the players are able to click up to castle age pretty much right after hitting feudal age. They just need the 2 buildings. One of them is probably a stable, the other one is a blacksmith, and it appears that Vinchester is going to be the first player clicking up over here. He will be eventually walled at this side, which is nice. But he's still open from this direction, and he's also open on this side of the map, so I'm not sure how much this wall is going to help. It helps a tiny bit, but it's not really a big deal so far. I would say, in the meanwhile, Capoch, indeed, he is gonna go for the type of walls that are just reasonable on this map, I would say. Easy wall off here, easy wall off here as well for him, and he's gonna have a nice little corner to work with. Vinchester now grouping up his scouts, maybe looking for a Voyager. If he reaches feudal, he's gonna have 2 scouts with a +2 attack. That's actually pretty dangerous to Villagers. Same thing could apply to Capoch. He's even going to have the extra HP on those Frankish scouts, so that could pick off some Villagers, and indeed Capoch is now going for some heavy walls. Looking good, but you still need to wall the middle. Funnily enough, it's pretty easy for him to do. Vinchester is probably lurking in the middle to prevent Capoch from walling like the way it would be reasonable. So this is a very easy wall off, and probably Vinchester wants to prevent that. Meanwhile, Vinchester lost 2 sheep over here. He just didn't find them, and Capoch was able to lame one of them and send it to the corner. We are going to have 2 scouts now for Capoch as well. And looking at the resources, as I said, both players are going to be clicking up to Castle Age pretty early on, I would say. So, Vinchester trying to poke and probe, try to pick off a Voyager over here on the woodline. Shouldn't really work, to be honest. Like, Capoch has a lot of Vogers to just scare these scouts away. And interesting walling from Capoch. I guess it works, like if he places a wall over there. But one thing I want to check. Okay, he sees the hole, so he should place up a side wall over there. It's going to be fine. Those are unnecessary, but I like the precaution from Capoch. And apparently he is just going to rush up a stable with, that is 6 Villagers rushing up a stable. That's rather fast. Look at the resources. He's trying to pick up, whereas for Vinchester, that's a completely different approach. Look at that. He's going wheelbarrow, he is going for scouts over here, and he used up most of his food doing so. So Vinchester wants to play feudal age aggression, but I think Capoch will be walled on this base. So the only place where Vinchester could potentially hit Capoch would be this base, but I mean, it's pretty easy to wall. Just wall here, and the TC is gonna protect you. So I feel like, even though the team walls... Oh, there's a hole! There's a hole! Oh man, that's hard to spot. That's very hard to spot, but now I think Capoch is in trouble. Because he doesn't really have any army here. He could make 1 or 2 scouts here, but... well, best thing that he could do is just make some spears. But that's actually super bad for him. Loses 1 villager, but he's going up to Castle Age. So this might still be okay. He's just 1 villager behind. He goes up to Castle Age. And luckily he can just send villagers from this base to this gold. So it's not like this gold is denied right now. Scouts are running around, yeah, that's annoying, but I think Capoch will be able to strike back. Like, Vinchester's base is wide open here. Apparently, Capoch lost his scouts trying to pick off a Voyager from Vinch, and simultaneously, the second stable will be denied. It actually hurts quite badly for Capoch, and now that's a 5 Villagers lead. So the feudal age aggression pays off here for Vinchester quite nicely. His castle age time is not going to be as good as the one from Capoch, but he picked off 5 or 6 Villagers, which is pretty decent. And I think the hole is still there. I'm not sure if Capoch knows how Vinchester got inside. That's 1 scout going down. There's still a decent amount of HP, but now Capoch is fine, I think. And in fact, I still believe Capoch is in a better position, because he's behind by 6 wheels, but look at the castle age time. Vinchester didn't even click up, and now Capoch can go double stable knights, and Vinchester's base... This one is going to be fully walled, but this one is wide open. The gold mine is there for raiding. This one is open from this side, so knights could definitely do quite a lot of damage. This could be interesting though. If these scouts just loop around here, they could still hit some villagers from Capoch, and Capoch doesn't have a single production building over here. This is why you need this base walled, because you don't have any military buildings to produce units at. Nice, quick walls from Capoch, beautiful play from him. Make sure that those scouts will not really do any significant damage, and here he is going up to knights. Looking at the text here, he has a scale bonding armor, and there is also a hole here. I'm not sure if that's something that was just opened up, or that was there before. And Told you, you need to wall this place, otherwise these scouts will run inside. Not really a big deal, to be honest. In fact, one knight should be able to deal with them, but I think the good decision from Capoch is to just send the knights forward and try to pick off some villagers from Vinch. Vinch is fully walled in this corner, or at least I assume so. And, well, for now, Capoch is trying to hit this base, but that's not gonna succeed, and the Vinchester is actually fully walled. That's great for him, because right now Capoch cannot really do any immediate damage, and that buys some time for Vinch to get up to Castle Age. And since he's Berbers, he can just open a few camels, picks off one villager over here on the farm, but loses 2 scouts. I would say that's an acceptable trade. These scouts aren't really important anymore, but picking up one more villager is nice. 6 villagers lead for Vinchester, and he also has wheelbarrow. So that's actually pretty neat for him. He will definitely need a few camels to push back the knights, but once he has that, I actually think that he's in a better position. Told you those wolves will be interesting at some point. 4 wolves just chasing down the knight. I am actually curious how much HP this knight is gonna lose. Okay, not a lot. Still, all the wolf Reno is getting killed, and as I said, all the wolves just bought enough time for Vinchester to get up to Castle Age and eventually go for full camels, as expected. Goes iron casting immediately. If you look at attacks, Capoch just has +1 armor, not a lot, whereas Vinchester has +1 armor and he's gonna have +2 attacks. So, what is Capoch up to? And why don't we have people? Okay, I just pressed the wrong hotkey. So apparently Capoch is actually going for a very heavy boom here. Going 4 TCs in here, not really doing a lot of military, to be honest. Popped out a few knights, but he didn't really go for a lot of upgrades. He's just gonna go for the eco-heavy approach. For Vinchester, that is going to be TC number 3 and TC number 4 as well. So I think Vinchester, I actually like his position more and more here. His camels will be fine at defending against the knights, and he's gonna have the same eco, if not better, than his opponent. Nice house walls, there might be a hole there, but the camels will just scare the knights away. So the Berbers here actually seems like a legit counterpick to Capoch, at least for now. Of course, there are options for Franks to deal with the camels. The problem is mobility. You need a fast army. I like that Capoch is dragging away the camels with 1 knight, and then he can send the knights back, though. This is actually knights. That's a beautiful play. But that guy is dead. I don't think there is an overchop here just yet, but there might be at some point. So let's see, eco's 83 to 80. Capoch is catching up, but yeah, he's gonna have to make sure those camels don't get into his eco, and he will need quite a lot of halberdiers. He's got a great eco behind this one, so there's heavy plow, though he's missing Boso, so that actually takes some away from that. But there is a hole now. There's actually a hole, because Vinchester opened this one up so the miners can access the stone mine. Luckily for Vinchester, Capoch does not notice that, because Capoch doesn't think that there is a hole. And now, Vinchester adding some knights as well himself. Here come the knights from Capoch, and no entry whatsoever. Camel numbers steadily increasing for Vinchester over here, and Capoch might be trapped. Capoch might be trapped over here. That's actually hopeful. He's gonna have all of his knights trapped in this corner with no escape. Like, he can delete that own wall, but that probably means that he's just gonna lose quite a lot of knights still, and potentially let those camels in. Loses a lot of HP on those knights. Not really a fight that he wants to take. Also, he has to allocate 5 villagers to repair that house, and I'm not sure if he will be able to keep that alive. It's still +2/+1, and there isn't enough upgrades. Villagers derping out. Oh man, that's knights inside your eco. Luckily for Capoch, that's only knights, so his own knights can trade decently. But once the camels arrive, I think Capoch is in trouble, because he's not really going to stop this army. He's making spears right now, but that's just 2 barracks with spearmen and no upgrades on that. Not ideal for a fight like this. Now, that being said, camels aren't amazing at dealing with spearmen because they have a pretty low base attack. So Capoch might be able to take this fight over here. Definitely not ideal, but he might actually be able to survive this. The problem is that he's behind by 10 villagers now, and if you take a look at the upgrades, Boso is still missing for him. So he lost a lot of army here, not really taking great engagements, and now he has a lot of idle time. This is looking bad for Capoch. This is looking pretty bad. Tries to quick wall the wood line. Not going to happen. Actually, it did. It did work. But in the meanwhile, you already have knights coming to the other side of the map. I don't think there is an overchop here just yet. But there is also some knights hitting these farms. So Capoch's eco is super exposed. Whereas for Vinch, there is just no military units hitting it. Vinch is also gonna go Imperial if you look at the resources. Now, Capoch, at the end of the day, loses this wood line. I actually thought that this is a trap, but nope, it wasn't. +1, +2 now, he might think about taking this fight. It could be possible, especially if there is a few spearmen to support. Iron casting on the way, Capoch wants to wait for that upgrade, but with fletching coming in just yet, for Vinchester, that feels like he's going to start adding camel archers, something that Capoch is going to have a hard time dealing with. Needs to repair these walls as well. Knights get into the wood line, and Capoch needs to run away from that as well. This looks pretty bad. This looks pretty bad for Capoch. Loses 2 more wills. And as I said, eventually this is going to be a cleanup. The question is, at what price? A lot of these knights are low HP, and the imp time is just going to be pretty bad for Capoch compared to Vinchester. Vinchester is almost up to Imperial. That's Kasbah, I believe, coming in for Vinchester. So, indeed, Kasbah is coming in. So, now he's going to transition to Camel Archers. He's going to be one step ahead of Capoch. Like, Capoch is still trying to fix his eco. Like, he's not completely dead, but he's definitely on the back foot. Because right now, his army isn't super amazing. Now, that being said, it takes quite a lot of time to get to decent Camel Archer numbers, so there might be a small chance for Capoch to use this army to something. But considering that Vinchester can just add a few camels to deal with this army, or at least lower the numbers enough so that they are not as dangerous as they could be, I think that this is looking pretty grim for Capoch. Loses 2 more knights running into the castle fire. And I think another one is gonna go down here. No murder hose, but still, Castle's gonna finish that knight off. Finally, knights are cleaned up. Capoch actually is in a still a decent condition if you look at the population and the villager numbers. So, technically he's not dead, but in reality, his opponent is just gonna reach Imperial, and now he's making Camel Archers, so this is where things are going to be pretty tough for Capoch. He's behind by 1.5k score, and I think that is completely justified. Still, you should never underestimate the strength of Franks and their ability to just mass knights and over on the map with that. But as long as there is camels in the party for Vinch, and now that he's going heavy camel, this is going to be pretty tough. Like heavy camel and camel archer, here is something that I don't think that Capoch will be able to stop. But still, he has a considerable army here, and all he needs to do is just get these knights inside the base of Vinchester, which might not be that super hard. Pick off 20 swordy villagers, which once again is not super hard with that big knight numbers, and suddenly this game is pretty much even. But if Vinchester is allowed to have 140 villagers in this one, I don't think that Capoch will have a chance, because heavy camels will just pretty much smash him. He's getting close to clicking up to Imperial himself, as Vinchester will try to castle drop this. Capoch might pick off 1 or 2 villagers here, but he might just need to accept that there is going to be a castle in his face. Oh, I like this. He's dragging away the camels so that the other knight can kill the wheels, but this is not going to be enough. But he's getting into the base of Vinchester over here. Quick walls are going to fail, and there's absolutely nothing that stops Capoch from killing a lot of villagers over here, or at least idling quite a lot. A few camels are now on the way, but that's just 2, so they're just going to lose because of lower numbers. Capoch, ready to click up to Imperial. He can drop his own castle very soon with the cheaper Frankish castles, and maybe try to take a trap war over here. Indeed, camels go down slowly. Knights trying to hit the eco. Capoch caught up in terms of villager numbers, as we are gonna have another attempt to drop a castle over here in between the 2 bases of Capoch to cut the reinforcements off. But look at Capoch just massing more and more knights here, and Vinchester doesn't have the stables to have a huge amount of camels in here. He's got a few, but that's not an awful lot. And Capoch is just flooding cavalry over here with what is 4 stables already, and he still doesn't have chivalry. So if he gets chivalry, that's going to be an even bigger flood of cavalry. Now that's a nice quick wall, but that villager is still going to die to the castle fire. The problem is that now there is decent amount of camels for Vinch with blast furnace. So fights will not be ideal for Capoch, but he's still killing quite a lot of villagers, and now he has the villager lead. He also has the population lead. Halfway to Imperial he is. I think he's gonna need Halberdier here, because Vinchester is switching back to full heavy camel, and there is barely any camel archers on the field. So Halberdiers would work pretty nicely over here for Vinch, because he needs something against those camels. Indeed, villager is gonna die, and that means that this castle is going to be ultimately denied. Vinchester still has better map control, but I mean, Capoch, he has caught up in eco. The problem is that his unit composition is just not ideal to deal with Vinchester. Not a single pikeman on the field to deal with the camels. If the camel archer numbers are allowed to grow, they will pick off the halberdiers, and that's a further problem for Capoch right now. Not looking great still. Like, he's still super late into Imperial compared to his opponent. That raid that just got into his base pretty much crippled his eco enough so that Vinchester is constantly pushing him with Imperial Age units, and Capoch just needs to take bad fights. Like, he's forced to fight with +2/+2 knights against Racer, Chemistry, Camel Archers, and Heavy Camels with Blast Furnace. So that's just not ideal. And now once again Capoch is dropping in villager count quite heavily, and he also has a lot of idols, so he only has 28 villagers on foot compared to 51 from Winch. This is looking pretty good for a Russian player, and indeed, as I'm saying that, Capoch is going to call it game number 1 in the hands of Vinchester. Let's add a score to Winch, and let's take a quick look at the stats. So I think something that signifies the amount of raiding that Vinchester was able to do is the villager idle time. 2 hours, 7 minutes of villager idle time if you add up all. For Capoch, 1.5 hours from Vinchester. That's actually quite a lot from Vinch, considering that he wasn't raided that heavily as Capoch was. But that pretty much shows that Vinchester's pressure on Capoch eco had its effect. And also, of course, with the stats, KD is better for Vinch, but I think what matters is this. The Imperial Age time of the two players. 27 minutes for Vinch, 33 for Capoch, which means that Capoch was basically fighting in Castle Age against the Imperial Age units for so long that eventually just ran out of juice because he had to take pretty unfavorable engagements. Now, with that, we are done with game number 1. I will have to add the score over here as well.